Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when actions speak louder than words, when a person's behavior toward you reveals their true intent, and sometimes their actions are not accidental, not careless, but calculated. If someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, manipulates your emotions, or undermines your confidence, you must understand, they don't just dislike you, they want to destroy you. Destruction doesn't always come in the form of physical harm. Sometimes it comes quietly through gaslighting, constant criticism, isolation, and control. The worst part, it often comes from those closest to us, people we trusted. Recognizing the signs early can save you. You deserve respect. You deserve truth. You deserve peace. So I say this clearly. If someone makes you feel smaller every time you rise, mocks your pain, or consistently turns others against you, that's not just toxic. That's strategic destruction. Get out, speak up, protect yourself, because your life, your dignity, and your mental health are worth fighting for. Thank you. Consistent disrespect and manipulation are signs of intentional harm. When someone repeatedly dismisses your thoughts, interrupts your speech, or disregards your feelings, it's not just rudeness. It's a pattern. Over time, these behaviors wear you down, making you question your worth and judgment. This isn't about occasional mistakes or misunderstandings. This is about a deliberate strategy to lower your confidence so they can gain control. A person who constantly criticizes you, even in subtle ways like backhanded compliments or sarcastic remarks, is not offering constructive feedback. They are chipping away at your identity. They may make you feel like you're always the problem, like nothing you do is good enough, or like you're lucky to even be tolerated. This behavior is often accompanied by manipulation, twisting your words, denying things they've said, or turning others against you. They might even play the victim to shift blame and make you doubt your perception of reality. The goal isn't resolution or understanding, the goal is power. They aim to keep you unbalanced, insecure, and dependent. When someone treats you this way repeatedly, it's not just toxic, it's intentional. And when harm is intentional, it becomes a form of destruction. Recognizing that is the first step toward protecting yourself. Destruction can be emotional, psychological, and social, not just physical. Many people assume that harm only exists when there are bruises, loud arguments, or visible scars. But some of the deepest wounds are the ones no one can see. Emotional and psychological destruction is often slow and subtle, making it harder to recognize and even harder to explain to others. It might begin with seemingly small things, being ignored when you express your needs, feeling constantly judged, or noticing that your confidence has quietly disappeared. These forms of harm can leave you doubting your own emotions and questioning your reality. When someone constantly invalidates your feelings or makes you feel like you're overreacting, they are not simply disagreeing with you. They are shaping your self-perception in destructive ways. Over time, this emotional erosion can lead to anxiety, depression, isolation, and a loss of identity. Social destruction is another tactic that's often overlooked. It happens when someone deliberately damages your reputation, turns others against you, or isolates you from friends and family. They may gossip behind your back, spread false narratives, or manipulate group dynamics to leave you feeling alone and unsupported. The purpose of this is control, to make you feel so vulnerable and isolated that you have no choice but to depend on them. These invisible attacks can be even more dangerous than physical ones because they're easier to hide, harder to prove, and deeply internalized. When someone engages in this kind of destruction, it shows a desire not just to hurt you in the moment, but to permanently alter how you see yourself and how the world sees you. That is a profound form of violence, one that requires awareness and the strength to walk away before it consumes your sense of self entirely. People who want to destroy you often disguise it as concern, love, or humor. This is one of the most insidious forms of manipulation because it makes you second, outguess your instincts. When someone cloaks harmful behavior in the language of care or affection, it becomes far more difficult to recognize and call out. They might say they're only pointing out your flaws because they care, or that they're being honest when they belittle you. They'll claim they're only joking when they mock your insecurities, and if you react, they'll label you as too sensitive or unable to take a joke. This tactic is designed to shift the blame onto you, making you feel like the problem lies in your perception rather than in their actions. They may offer false kindness, like giving you advice that sounds supportive, but is meant to undermine your confidence or control your choices. These people know that outright hostility would be obvious, so instead, they wrap their intentions in socially acceptable forms of interaction. They might act overly protective or possessive, framing it as love when it's really about control. They might question your friends or dreams in the name of looking out for you, while secretly working to shrink your world so you rely solely on them. Even their humor can be a weapon, laced with sarcasm and disguised criticism, constantly cutting into your self-esteem while allowing them to deny any wrongdoing. What makes this so dangerous is that it's easy to internalize their narrative and believe they are the only one who truly cares, even as they slowly erode your confidence and independence. This isn't love, concern, or harmless fun. It's strategic emotional warfare dressed up in acceptable forms to make you stay, comply, or feel inferior. When someone consistently hurts you and hides behind the mask of affection, they are not trying to build you. They are trying to break you without being seen. Recognizing these patterns early is essential for self-preservation. The longer you are exposed to manipulation, disrespect, and emotional sabotage, the more normalized it becomes. What once felt wrong starts to feel familiar, and what once made you uncomfortable begins to seem acceptable. That's how emotional predators operate. They condition you slowly, so your boundaries erode without you realizing it. If you ignore the early signs, you give them more room to shape your reality, and the deeper you fall into their cycle of control, the harder it becomes to leave. Early signs might include walking on eggshells around someone, constantly apologizing even when you've done nothing wrong, or feeling drained after spending time with them. You may notice they never genuinely celebrate your achievements or always find a way to turn conversations back to themselves. These aren't small red flags, they are warnings. The people who seek to destroy your peace don't start with obvious acts of cruelty. They start with small, repetitive behaviors that chip away at your self-worth and make you question your instincts. That's why it's so important to pay attention to how people make you feel, not just what they say. Your gut often recognizes danger long before your mind does. If you catch these patterns early, you give yourself the chance to respond from a place of strength rather than desperation. Whether that means setting firm boundaries, limiting contact, or walking away entirely, your ability to act decisively depends on recognizing that something is wrong in the first place. Too many people stay in harmful situations because they've grown used to them. But awareness is the first defense. Once you see the behavior for what it is, not love, not care, not humor, but control, you can choose yourself before they take that choice away from you. Early recognition isn't just helpful, it's life-saving. You have the right to remove toxic individuals from your life without guilt. One of the greatest tools used by those who aim to destroy you is guilt. They make you feel responsible for their emotions, their behavior, and even their pain. They might say you're abandoning them, accuse you of being selfish, or claim that you're overreacting. They'll remind you of all they've done for you or insist that no one else will care about you like they do. But these manipulations are designed to trap you in a cycle of obligation and self-doubt. The truth is, you are not required to keep anyone in your life who consistently harms you, regardless of your history, shared blood, or social expectations. Whether it's a friend, a partner, a family member, or a mentor, know One is entitled to a permanent place in your life if their presence is damaging your well-being. You do not owe loyalty to someone who undermines your growth or peace. Letting go of toxic people is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of self-respect. Many people struggle with this because society teaches us to forgive endlessly, to stay connected to family no matter what, and to avoid causing drama. But these beliefs often keep people stuck in destructive environments, prioritizing appearances or outdated loyalties over their own mental and emotional health. You have the right to choose peace over chaos, truth over denial, and healing over pain. You do not need to explain or justify that decision to anyone. Setting boundaries, creating distance, or walking away entirely is not heartless. It's healthy. The people who truly care about you will respect your need for safety and space. Those who try to guilt you into staying, despite the harm they cause, reveal that they value control more than your comfort. Remember this: your life is your own, and you deserve to fill it with people who uplift, respect, and genuinely support you. Anyone who consistently does the opposite does not deserve access to you. Letting them go isn't a betrayal of them, it's a commitment to yourself. When someone constantly makes you doubt your reality, they are not confused, they are controlling you. This tactic is often known as gaslighting, and it's one of the most dangerous forms of psychological manipulation. It doesn't always come in dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's as subtle as them denying they said something you clearly remember. Other times it's them telling you that your emotions are irrational, your memories are flawed, or your reactions are exaggerated. Over time, this steady drip of denial and distortion causes you to second guess your instincts, your judgments, and even your sense of self. You begin to feel uncertain about things you once knew for sure, and that uncertainty can become a prison. People who engage in this behavior don't want clarity, they want control. By making you question your own mind, they create dependency. If you can't trust yourself, you start relying on them for the truth, which gives them power over your thoughts, decisions, and actions. It's a calculated way to break down your confidence and make you more compliant. What's worse is that gaslighters often present themselves as reasonable or even caring. They may insist they're just trying to help you see things more clearly, when in reality, they are rewriting your experiences to suit their narrative. The longer this goes on, the more disoriented and emotionally exhausted you become. You might begin apologizing constantly, doubting your ability to make choices, or staying silent out of fear that you'll be labeled as dramatic or unstable. And that's exactly what they want: to silence you, confuse you, and mold you into someone easier to manipulate. It's important to understand that this behavior is not a result of misunderstanding or poor communication. It is a deliberate strategy to gain dominance by undermining your trust in yourself. The person doing it knows what they're doing, even if they deny it. Their goal isn't resolution, it's control. And once you recognize this tactic for what it is, you can begin to reclaim your clarity, your voice, and your power. When someone celebrates your failures more than your successes, they are not a friend, a partner, or a supporter. They are a threat to your growth. Genuine people feel joy when you win. They uplift you when you take a step forward, and they encourage you when you're chasing something better for yourself. But those who secretly want to see you fail will do the opposite. They may not say it outright, but their body language, their silence, or their passive-aggressive comments say enough. You can feel it when they downplay your achievements, ignore your milestones, or change the subject when you share good news. On the surface, they may offer a half-hearted congratulations or a smile that doesn't reach their eyes, but underneath it all is a quiet resentment that you're rising without them. These people often disguise their envy with sarcasm, subtle jabs, or backhanded compliments. They'll point out flaws in your success, highlight what you still don't have, or compare you to someone doing even better, anything to make your accomplishments feel smaller than they are. They may say things like, "That's great, but don't get too comfortable," or "Must be nice, I wish I had the same luck," framing your hard work as something undeserved or temporary. And when you struggle, you'll notice their energy shift. They suddenly become more engaged, more present, even sympathetic, not because they care, but because your failure reassures them. It restores a sense of control and superiority they lost when you were doing well. This type of person is emotionally dangerous because they pretend to care while secretly rooting for your downfall. They feed on your setbacks and feel threatened by your progress. The more you succeed, the more uncomfortable they become because your growth exposes their stagnation. These individuals want to keep you in a version of yourself that makes them feel safe, in control, or superior. If you start to evolve, whether in your career, relationships, confidence, or mindset, they see it as a personal attack on the imbalance they've benefited from. Recognizing this pattern is painful, especially when it comes from someone close to you. But it's necessary, because anyone who is quietly rooting against you while pretending to stand beside you is not just unsupportive. They are actively holding you back, and someone who tries to dim your light when it shines the brightest is not someone who deserves a place in your circle. When someone isolates you from the people who care about you, they are not protecting you. They are positioning themselves to control you. Isolation is one of the oldest tactics used by manipulative individuals to gain dominance over someone's mind and life. It doesn't always look like outright commands to cut ties with others. Often, it begins subtly. They might express concern over your friends, saying certain people aren't good for you or don't really have your back. They may create drama between you and your loved ones, planting seeds of doubt or suggesting that those close to you are jealous, manipulative, or unreliable. Over time, their words and actions start to influence how you see your own support system. This manipulation works best when done gradually. You might not even realize it's happening until one day you look around and realize you've become emotionally dependent on one person, the very person who encouraged you to cut everyone else off. They may pressure you to cancel plans, guilt, trip you for spending time with others, or even start fights on days when you're supposed to be around friends or family. Slowly but surely, they become your main, if not only, source of emotional input. And in doing so, they gain immense power over how you think, feel, and act. Once you're isolated, it becomes easier for them to gaslight you, to make you question your memories and feelings, and to reshape your view of reality without outside interference. Without other voices offering perspective, support, or truth, you begin to believe whatever they tell you. You start to rely on their approval, seek their validation, and fear their disapproval more than anything. That's exactly what they want. Isolation isn't just about keeping you physically apart from others. It's about cutting off your emotional and mental lifelines so that your identity, self, worth, and sense of reality are filtered solely through them. This behavior is particularly cruel because it preys on your need for connection. It manipulates your longing for safety and love, only to use it as a weapon to make you more vulnerable and compliant. People who isolate others under the guise of love, concern, or protection are not acting out of care. They are strategically removing all obstacles to their control. The more alone you feel, the more they can dictate the terms of your life. And once they've succeeded in making you feel like you have no one else, they believe you'll never leave, even if they continue to mistreat or damage you. Understanding this tactic is essential because the earlier you recognize it, the easier it is to resist. Being cut off from your community, your family, or your support system is not normal in a healthy relationship. It's a red flag of someone who doesn't want you strong, independent, or connected. They want you isolated, dependent, and easily controlled. And no matter how gentle or loving their methods may appear, the intent behind isolation is always the same: power. When someone tries to make you feel like you're hard to love, they're not reflecting your flaws. They're projecting their own inability to offer real love. This is one of the most emotionally damaging tactics a person can use because it targets your core sense of worth. It's subtle at first. They might say things like, "You're too sensitive," "No one else would put up with this," or "You always overreact." These statements are designed to make you feel as if your emotional needs are excessive, your personality is difficult, and your expectations are unreasonable. Over time, you begin to internalize this belief, convincing yourself that maybe they're right, that maybe you are too much, or not enough, or somehow both at once. This manipulation works by shifting the blame for their mistreatment onto you. Instead of acknowledging their inability to show up with empathy, patience, or respect, they frame your natural human needs as defects. They might withdraw affection when you express vulnerability, criticize you when you try to communicate honestly, or mock you for seeking reassurance. And when you finally speak up about feeling unloved or unappreciated, they respond with disdain or defensiveness, saying things like, "Nothing I do is ever good enough for you," flipping the script so that you're the one who seems unreasonable. Eventually, you start lowering your standards just to keep the peace. You stop asking for comfort, you mute your voice, you shrink yourself, all in an attempt to become easier to love in their eyes. But no matter how much you bend or compromise, it's never enough, because the problem was never you. It was never your emotions, your honesty, or your hope for connection. The problem is that they were never capable of giving love in a healthy, secure, or respectful way, and rather than face that truth, they make you believe you're the problem. This is emotional sabotage masked as relationship struggle. It's not just hurtful, it's strategic. Because if they can convince you that you're hard to love, they can also convince you that they are the only one willing to love you, which creates dependency and fear. You start believing that no one else will accept you, which makes you stay in a situation where you are consistently made to feel unworthy, and that belief, once internalized, can follow you long after the relationship ends, influencing how you see yourself and how you allow others to treat you. But being made to feel hard to love is not a reflection of your reality. It's a tactic meant to control, diminish, and silence. People who truly care about you won't punish you for needing love, support, or understanding. They won't shame your vulnerability or weaponize your feelings. Real love accepts, listens, and holds space. If someone constantly makes you feel like you're too much, it's not because you are. It's because they are unwilling to meet you where you deserve to be met. When someone continuously disregards your boundaries, they are not just being inconsiderate, they are disrespecting you on a fundamental level. Boundaries are the lines we draw to protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. And anyone who dismisses them is showing a lack of regard for who you are and what you need. It's not uncommon for people to test these boundaries, especially in relationships where familiarity leads to comfort. But when that behavior becomes a pattern, it's a clear sign that they're either unwilling or incapable of respecting you. Initially, they might push little boundaries like ignoring your need for personal space or time, laughing off your requests for privacy, or speaking over you when you express your feelings. At first, you might make excuses for them, thinking it's just a mistake or a misunderstanding. However, as these behaviors continue, you start to feel like your needs are being invalidated. They may tell you that you're being too sensitive, too demanding, or unreasonable. But the truth is, setting boundaries is a normal, healthy part of any relationship. Anyone who makes you feel guilty for asserting your needs is showing you that they don't care about your comfort, but rather about their own desires and control. As time passes, you might notice that the more you assert yourself, the more resistance you receive. They might push harder or dismiss you even more aggressively, framing your attempts to protect yourself as attacks or selfishness. They might try to manipulate you into thinking your boundaries are unfair or unrealistic, subtly suggesting that if you truly loved them, you wouldn't need such things. When this happens, it becomes clear that their goal is not a mutually respectful relationship. but one where their wants and needs outweigh yours. They use your kindness, your patience, and your love against you, pushing further and further until you eventually feel like you're not allowed to say no without feeling guilty or selfish. This form of manipulation is extremely dangerous because it can make you question your own worth and diminish your sense of autonomy. Over time, you may start to believe that you don't deserve respect or that your boundaries are somehow less important than someone else's. This slowly chips away at your self-esteem and personal agency, leaving you feeling powerless and emotionally drained. You begin to question if you're too rigid, too difficult, or too much of a burden. What they're really doing is wearing you down, breaking down your defenses, and teaching you that your feelings don't matter. They want to make you feel like you're the problem for wanting respect, space, or peace, and in doing so, they slowly gain more control over you. When someone disregards your boundaries consistently, they are not simply being inconsiderate. They are intentionally violating the trust and respect that any healthy relationship is built on. They are testing your limits, seeing how far they can go without facing consequences, and pushing you to a place where you question yourself rather than them. This is not love. Love respects, love listens, and love honors the needs of both people involved. Boundaries aren't barriers meant to divide. They are lines that protect your integrity and well-being. If someone continuously disrespects those boundaries, they are telling you, in no uncertain terms, that they value their desires over your rights, and they're willing to push you beyond your comfort zone to get what they want. This kind of behavior is not only toxic, but it's also a clear signal that they do not have your best interests at heart.